Welcome to Seeing with Your Soul, the podcast aimed to inspire you to find your voice and become the best, truest, and most authentic version of yourself. Spiritually intimate, soul-to-soul conversations, life-changing insights, and spiritual teaching and healing. Real, raw, unfiltered. Join your host, Tisha Michelle.
Sometimes you just have to let that shit go. Welcome and welcome back to Seeing with Your Soul. I'm your host, Tisha Michelle. Yo, guys, this is the last episode before my birthday. Taurus gang, what up? It is almost another year around the sun, and I am loving life even more. And I know that might sound cheesy, but I'm dead ass serious. I'm really, really loving life. I used to judge people, so sorry now, who would be like, oh, it's my birthday month, it's my birthday week. I'm like, no, you just have that one day. Like, it is not that serious. Didn't say it to them, but what I was thinking in my head. And I get it now. It's such an honor and a blessing to be able to just wake up, right? So if you made it another year around the sun, I get it. I get it. Last year was my 40th birthday, and I spent it in a brand new state, which was Arizona. And I also spent it with new people in my life. And the year before that, I wouldn't have imagined that's what I would have been. First of all, I didn't even imagine doing anything for my birthday, but let alone in a brand new state and with new people. And I had hella fucking fun. What's up? Shout out to my girl, Janine, who was just on the podcast. Yeah, so I'm loving life so much more. I'm super excited for my birthday. And then the day after my birthday, I get to spend it with 10 beautiful souls at my Arizona retreat. So I'm excited about that too, being able to just, exchange that energy and do what I love, which is just, really connecting with people and sharing my gifts and stuff. So that's pretty dope. And I have a lot planned for my birthday, not like party or anything of that sort, but just a lot of things that is just really just about me, which is what it should be. Hello, it's my birthday. I'm one of those people now. So, but if you guys want to exchange some energy with your girl and get me something for my birthday, my Cash App is, wait for it. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding about the whole Cash App thing. But what I would love for you to do for my birthday is to head on over and give me an honest rate and an honest review of the podcast, because it does help me come up in the feed, which in actuality, why am I struggling? Probably because I'm tired. Bear with me. But in actuality, it helps me to reach more beautiful souls such as yourself. So I'm going to thank you guys in advance. Thank you for the rate and the review. You guys are amazing. All right. So in this present moment, I would say that I am grateful for knowing when to pivot. And I'm really just going to leave it at that, because your girl has been fucking pivoting over here. But that's more to come. I'll share some of that journey with you on some future podcast episodes and let you know what I was talking about when I had to pull up and pivot. All right. So now your turn. Unless you are driving, y'all know the deal. And maybe you don't know the deal because you're new. And if so, hello and welcome. All right. I want you guys to go ahead and close your eyes. Let's connect. Let's get grounded. Let's vibe. And go ahead and take a nice deep breath. But I want you to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Then another deep breath, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. One more, a nice deep breath, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Yes, guys, what's up? What you grateful for? Express that gratitude. Say it in your head. Say it out loud. Say it to your neighbor. Say it to your children. Pause me. Go ahead and journal about it. Whatever way you choose to express that is perfect. Go ahead and put that energy out. Let the universe give it back to you, and let's create that nice harmony, that nice flow. What are you grateful for? All right. So in today's episode, I got to have a conversation with Jacquelyn Phillips, and she is the author of Comfortably Uncomfortable, and it's also her first book. So, like, shout out to her. Like, man, I know so many people that, say they want to write a book and they just don't get started. Talking about myself. I got 3 books halfway like done and I've just been over here like BSing and stuff. So shout out to her just for, having this idea with this book and sharing like her story and everything and putting it out there for us. But yeah, so her book comes at a time in the world where we are isolated and introspective, ready to make change and come out stronger and happier. And when she's not sharing her story of change with others, she owns an event venue and a photography business, both located in Arizona. Shout out to AZ, my home. Yes, yes, yes. All right. So when we had this conversation, one of the main things that stood out to me that she said, I mean, just her whole story and everything is amazing. But when she was describing how she was feeling, she said it hurt to just exist. And yo, guys, I felt that shit in my soul. Like literally, I felt it because I've been there before. But for her to put the words to it, I'm like, yes, that's it. That's it. Whoo, yes, 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 yes. Also, another the second thing is when it like comes to her book and when she's sharing her story and her journey and just in how she overcame things and all, it really leads to you asking this question of what if I am good enough? So many of us is running around like thinking I'm not good enough and all these stories and programs and all this foolishness in there. But what if you just ask yourself? Matter of fact, I want you guys to do that right now before you even finish listening to it. Say it in your head out loud, whatever, and just say, what if I am good enough? And notice how you feel. Notice how your body's feeling, or maybe some other thoughts and stuff. What if I am good enough? Because guess what? You guys are. Enjoy the conversation. Well, welcome to Singing with Your Soul.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So around here, I always like to start off by expressing gratitude. So my first question to you is, in this present moment, what are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm grateful that every day is a new opportunity to do something fun and exciting and adventurous, and even the mundane can be an opportunity.
No, I love that. I personally don't believe that, a lot of people really look at it like that, to have, be grateful for these different like opportunities or just to like wake up in the morning and yeah, you can say that you're grateful that you woke up, which is great. But what about if we just went like a little further and was like, I'm so grateful to see how this day turns out, like to see, what am I going to learn today? Or, how do I respond or react to like a challenge so I can check myself and see the level of growth that I have or still need
What is my opportunity for growth today? And being grateful for the opportunity.
Exactly. So I love that. So thanks for sharing that with me. So I really just want to, honestly, I really just want to dive in. Like when I was reading over the stuff that was sent, I was like, I need to hear the story. So let's just go back and just tell me the story and I'm gonna cut in between.
Yeah, absolutely. So the book Comfortably Uncomfortable came as a result of 4 years of soul searching and hard work and dedication to taking what was a miserable existence where I was hurting myself and hurting others and taking all of that negative energy and processing it in a way that served me as a positive. Of course, in all good redemption stories, there is a breaking point. There are moments of despair, but the more important fact was that I was able to take those things and get the help that I needed so that I could be having this conversation with you today and take those things and go, I've been there. You're not alone. Let me tell you how I did it and let me see if I can't help you. I am fully aware that this book is not going to be like New York Times bestseller or, this thing. Honestly, it's just a vehicle to help others. And that was just the format that worked best for me. And then I got to transfer it into this. And this is even more enjoyable because I love dialogue. So it's really nice to have
Mm.
this opportunity to just say, hey, I can't reach every single person, but I can reach many people in this format, and I'm here to help.
Oh, no, absolutely. Okay, so when we go back to this point where you said like every, story has that part where it's like, oh, okay, this is what I did, how I get there. But what were some of the things that, like, what was your rock bottom? What was your struggle? What was that?
So it was 5 years ago in January. My husband wanted a divorce because I was a terrible spouse. I had just spent my entire life savings to buy a business that I wasn't sure I was going to make any kind of ROI. My car died, and I wanted to commit suicide. And so I had been in that place before, and I have a unique set of skills and knowledge that kept me from doing it last time. And because I am a smart cookie, I knew how to do it correctly. And I got to that point, and the thing that really stopped me was my son, because I wasn't going to end the cycle of trauma and abuse if I wasn't there to do the work. And I wasn't going to be able to shape the narrative of what happened to me if I wasn't there to tell the story. So I became very clean and vulnerable and said, I need help. And then I went and got all the help: pharmaceutical and counseling and a life coach and dialectical behavioral therapy. And I did couples counseling and I did journaling and I got medication and I did all the things all at once because I was so scared that if I didn't do it 100%, I wasn't going to make it.
Mm, like, if you don't mind going maybe a little bit further
Yeah.
into where you said you even contemplated like suicide. For me, I remember thinking people who committed suicide was so selfish. I was like, that is just so selfish of people to do. I mean, it's just selfish. And I don't remember at what point, I don't remember like what actually happened with me, but I remember one day saying, I get it now. I see why people commit suicide. And my whole perspective, and again, I wish I could remember what was going on in my life at that time that was like sparked that whole change in me, because it was just literally like a wake up call that no, they're not selfish. They got to a point where they felt like they couldn't take it anymore. And I felt like that. I never tried to commit suicide. Like, but I was like, yo, I get it. If it wasn't for my children, I probably would have been checked out. Like, you know what? I'm good. I'm done. I'll just come back another lifetime and figure it out then. So can you kind of tell me what some of the things that led you? I know you said like with the possible the divorce and all that, but what was it that really was like, I think I might end my life?
It just hurt to exist. So
Mm.
I have a lot of physical pain. It's a side effect of PTSD. So I have a mental disorder. I manage it. Before I was managing it, it just hurt to exist. Everything hurt. Every interaction hurt. Existing hurt. And it's exhausting to constantly be in pain. And there's no real break in that cycle until you sort of hit that point. When I wanted to commit suicide, it wasn't because I it's not because I didn't want to be here, it's because I didn't want to hurt anymore. It's exhausting to
Mm.
constantly hurt, and every interaction was hurting. My relationship with my husband was hurting. My business was hurting. My head was hurting. My heart was hurting. I was hurting myself, not so much, physical self-harm, but just emotional self-harm. And when you don't know how to break that cycle, it really starts to feel like that's really the only relief you're ever going to get. And I would say that it wasn't that I was being selfish, it was that I was exhausted and I just needed a break. And I didn't know any other way to find that break in that moment. And so, there is the misconception that, it's being selfish, but honestly, I felt like at that moment my existence was hurting more people than it was helping. And with that belief, it just didn't make sense to be here anymore.
Yeah. I can, like I said, I can definitely see that. And which is another reason why I think it's so important to like share your story, right? To really share your story, to let other people know that they're not alone. Not only are they not alone, but there's other options like getting through it, right? Healing, understanding versus saying like, I mean, when you even take it back to just now, when you said like it hurt to exist, like, yo, I felt that. Like I felt that because I've been there before. And that's such a great way to put it. That it literally hurt to exist because it was like, this is going on and this is going on.
And
And
it's
you really
never
just
going to
don't know
end.
what to do. Yeah. And there's a story. It's never going to
Yeah.
end. That's the story that's there. And it's like, well, what do you do?
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, it wasn't something that like just it wasn't a snap overnight. I mean, there were obvious days that were so much harder than others. And I am still not the picture perfect recovery. I still have bad days. I still have days when I think, why am I doing all this? Why am I fighting so hard? Why does it hurt so bad? But having that knowledge base now to be able to go back and go, you know what? I just got to get through the next 10 minutes. If I can make it through the next
Mm,
10 minutes, this will be a little less stressful. I just got to make it through the next 4 hours. If I can just get home and get to a safe spot and text my resources and go, hey, I'm having a bad day. Can you please just call me? Building up those tools so that when I did have those moments, they weren't life or death. They were just bumps in the road. It made it easier and it made it a more mindful practice. It's
yeah, I
not
like that.
oh, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, you can go ahead.
I say it's not unattainable when you're able to stop and break it down. And honestly, the most important thing I think I want to convey about suicide ideation is that it does not last long. That moment of wanting to end it all has a very short time frame. And honestly, just being mindful that this moment will pass. If I can get through that crisis moment, you can come out the other side. And you may experience it multiple times, and that's okay as long as you're willing to just sit with that moment. And it's uncomfortable and it's scary, and I give you permission to yell and scream and fight to get through that moment, but it is just a moment. It's such a small window that if you can breathe through it, you'll come out the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember having a breakdown moment almost 2 years ago when I moved to Arizona. And this was a big space for me because I just stepped out on faith and left everything. And we didn't know where we were going to stay, didn't have any money, none of that. And I remember sitting in the car one day while the kids were in the condo we were staying at, they were sleeping, and I was sitting in the car and I just like started crying and I started banging on the steering wheel. And I literally was like, and I cursed around here. I was like, this is fucking stupid. This is so dumb. I'm helping all of these people, but yet I'm in this space. And I was like, you know what? I give up. I freaking give up. And then I started laughing and I was like, I don't even know what that even means, but it felt so good to just say that. And that was what it was. So I agree. It's that moment. And if you can just push through, and push through doesn't mean get over it. Push through
No,
means whatever it is you're doing. If you want, like you said, yell, scream. I was banging on the steering wheel and I was yelling, saying, I give up. And then like after that, it was almost like when I said I give up was like a nice deep breath. And then I just like released it by saying like, I give up. And that was what I needed. And it dropped into me. It just was a quick download and it told me to go to this park. And when I went to the park, I was like, okay, now what? And I had this walk. And then this is when I heard reach out to the guy that the Airbnb we were renting from and have a conversation with him. And that just led to this whole other thing. But I had to go through that moment and I had to push through. And again, when I say push through, doesn't mean like, oh, you'll just get over it. Whatever you got to do, you do it. Whatever you got to feel, you feel it. And when I did that, it created space for this solution to drop in. And the solution that dropped in was also an uncomfortable one because I had to be vulnerable and have a conversation with this stranger and put aside my fear of rejection and just trust. And it opened up. So I love that you said it's that moment, and know that it doesn't last long. So it's like, hang in there, whatever that hang in there means for you, yelling, screaming, journaling, crying, falling out, whatever it is, allow yourself that space to feel that.
We don't emphasize vulnerability as a strength. And I think people that are in that moment are probably their absolute strongest when they're able to push through to the other side. And it's like you said, it doesn't mean that you're getting over it. It just means that you're getting past that critical moment of meltdown. The rebound is important. The vulnerability of acknowledging that you have to let it go is so strong. And we don't portray vulnerability as strength, and it really is. My biggest accomplishments in life have come when I have been willing to be vulnerable and be open and admit my faults and my weaknesses and my struggles. That's where my success has manifested because I wasn't portraying someone that I wasn't. I was being 100% authentic. And that's when I get my best results.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And I like how you even said that you would reach out to people where I think you said like text and say, I'm having this type of day. Like, can you just like call me? That right there, that's it. That's it. It's pulling one of the tools out of your toolbox. And one of the tools could be a person that's your support system. It could be a go-to podcast that you listen to, right? One day I had someone send me a message on Instagram, and the person said that they had been, I don't remember their exact words, but they were saying that they hadn't been in the best mood, and they literally went through my page to make themselves feel better. And I was like, wow, I love that. First of all, the fact that, I even popped up into your radar to say, let me go check out go look through her page, so I can, feel better about myself. But then she had that courage to send me that message, to say that and to thank me, in that sense. And I like that because it's not coming from an ego place. It's coming from a place of, I want so many more people to understand that it is okay if you're having a sad day or quote unquote bad day or going through an emotion or whatever the case is. Like it's okay, and it's okay to reach out for help or pull out some form of a tool that you have. So even when I tell this to like my listeners and people all the time, it's really up to you to explore. So like in the beginning of the conversation, you were telling me all the different things that you tried, and you were like, I got to do this, I got to do, and that's great. Because you're building up that toolbox with all these different things. Because when it comes to healing, it's not linear. It's not a one size fits all. And it's just not.
No, and even finding the right providers wasn't a one size fits all. I mean, it's like trying on blue jeans. If it doesn't fit right, it's not going to feel right, and you're not going to get the desired result. So it's okay
Absolutely.
to tell someone, hey, I appreciate what you're doing, but this isn't where I'm at right now, or this isn't the direction I want to take this. I need to find a different provider. And I think that's okay too. I don't think we make that an acceptable thing.
Okay. But what I last heard you say was about the different providers and
Oh yeah. So basically, I think it's also important to acknowledge that not all providers are going to be the right fit. It's kind of like trying on blue jeans. If it doesn't feel right, you're not going to wear it right, and it's going to look funny and it's going to feel funny. If someone that you're working with isn't taking you the direction that you want to go, or isn't meeting your needs in the dialogue, it's okay to go find a different provider. It's not a one size fits all.
Absolutely. I tell people when I'm working with them too, like, I'm going to take you as far as I'm meant to take you. Like, I'm going to take you as far as I'm meant to take you. While I would love to be able to help with every aspect and everything, there's at some point it won't be me. That's okay. But you'll be guided to who else you need, whether it is a podcast or it's a book such as like yours. a YouTube channel with someone, the stranger in the store or something somebody posts and they tag the person, and then you go and check them out and you see something and it resonates within your body, and now they're picking back up on this journey that you're on. But it's really important to explore the different modalities, to see which one, whether it's one that's just the best for you, or you take something from each thing or each person, and like that's your process. And just to know that there's more than one way to heal, right? And you can get it from different people and things, and loading yourself up with all these tools.
Yeah, it's like the salad bar, but at the same time, you can't be afraid to try the pasta salad just because you don't like olives, just because it doesn't seem like
Mm.
it's the right fit at the moment. Give it its due diligence and give it a shot.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Okay, so when did you actually, let me go back a little bit, because I think this is important as well. So you went through this period, you got to this point where you're like, you know what, I want to end like my life, like this is not it. When you look fast forward now and you're looking back to that period, would it be safe to say that you ignored some red flags on different situations that got you to that point?
I was a red flag.
Mm.
The blinders were super high, and I had built this whole mentality and persona and existence of, I'm a broken toy, nobody loves me, I have to fight for everything, nothing's going to come easy, nobody likes me, I don't deserve to be here. I was the red flag. And a lot of it was because I didn't have good tools going into adult life. I was taught to lie, and I was taught to hide, and I was taught to be other things because what I wasn't good enough. I grew up in poverty and instability and around mental illness and drug use. And so I didn't have this, warm, welcoming existence where, I was surrounded by love and healthy vibes. So I had built this hard outer shell, which was honestly just the haystack in the three pigs. One good blow and I fell apart. So I
Mm.
was the red flag, and I had to go back and I had to mend that flag and wash out all the hate that I had for myself so that I could be vulnerable and be the white flag and surrender that that person that I was didn't need to exist anymore, and that I needed to figure out who I really was and what that really looked like.
You were the red flag. I like that. I like to, you know what I mean? Like when you really think about it, it's like, yo, I am the red flag. Like this is these things. And I say this all the time. I say, if you want to understand who you are and why you do the things you do, you have to revisit your childhood. And what did you just say? Yo, I was taught this. I was taught how to lie. I was taught that I wasn't good enough, whatever those experiences that happened. And then it shapes you into this person that you are now. And it's like, holy crap, like what the heck? And all it takes is that, I always say, that one thing that triggers it, and it's the catalyst to this whole thing that you feel is like awful, like you want to die and like how you're feeling, but it's actually the catalyst to like you awakening to who you actually are, like who you truly are. Me personally, a lot of times my awakening was trying to happen and I was letting life just do its thing. And then when my best friend died, it was like, yo, punched me in the gut, the heart, and everything else. It's like, oh shit, you got my attention now. in that sense. And you go through that dark night of the soul. Like you go through that, and while you can have like the supports and the tools and stuff, there is that period where you're going through it alone. And that's a period that to me, I'm like, that's a period that you have to embrace. Like you have to embrace so you could truly like really get through those things or whatever that is.
I think some of it too is also forgiveness. When you're going through those moments, you have to be gentle with yourself and not be so quick to judge yourself, because that's only a part of who you are. That's not the whole picture. And taking the time to acknowledge, yes, that's who I am. That's who I was. I mean, the first line in my book is, I'm a piece of shit. because I
Mm,
really used to be. And, I have made amends with that person and the life that she lived. And now I don't ever have to go back to her because I've done the work to not have to be that person anymore. And there has to be forgiveness in those steps that you take. No one sets out to live a miserable existence.
yeah,
We're shaped by our environment and our interactions and our predispositions. And when we take the time to forgive that part of ourselves, it's really releasing you from that bind. You're giving yourself permission to go, yeah, I was that person, but I'm not that person anymore. And I don't have to revisit that other than to acknowledge that it's part of my story. You can be the best version of yourself every single day if you make the choice to be.
absolutely. And no, you're right. It's easy to get caught up in that quote unquote air quotes over here identity, making that your identity. And when you're going through that process and it's being like stripped away, like you are hard on yourself and you go to the like, I should have never done that. Like, I'm so stupid. How could I have not seen it? Versus like, chill out. That was an experience that, to be honest, it was the inevitable that was meant to happen. It was going to happen regardless. So you can think back now and say, oh, I should have did this. I should have did that. However, that could have been the inevitable that had to happen. There was nothing you could do that had to happen to get you to XYZ like moment or whatever, like that may be. So it's very important to have grace for yourself. It's very important to forgive yourself and just understand that that was an experience and you honestly probably did the best you thought you were doing at that time. And now when you're coming from a higher version of yourself, you're looking and you're like, oh, wow, okay, I probably could have done that, but I wasn't in that mindset or that space at that time to do that. And that's okay. So what I can do is I can learn from that. So now when that situation shows up again, because it probably will, and this is going to look different, but it's the same underlying theme, you can say, wait a minute, this looks familiar, but it's not, I'm not that same person, even though this looks and feels familiar, but I'm a different person. I've grown and now I can do something to change this so I can get off of the loop, if you choose to. And if not, because we have this great, wonderful thing that I'm always saying, sometimes you need to take that free will away from me because I will mess some shit up. Is, you can still be stuck in the actual loop, but it is your choice, right? It is your choice. So, and there's always a way, and there's so much, there's a lot of help out here now because a lot of people such as yourself are using your voice and sharing your story to, help people, to really help people through. And I think, and I just love that. So I just have to acknowledge that again, like with you. So thank you.
It was I'm not religious, but there was a internal motivation, divinity or whatever you want to call it, that basically manifested and said, you've put all this work in, you're still using these tools, but what are you going to do with it? How are you going to make the world a better place now that you've done all this work? And so
Mm,
my work now is to hold other people's hands and, when they need it, hold them accountable and share my story and go, there's 7 billion of us on the planet. I'm about 99.9% sure there's someone who's been in your exact shoes. You're not alone. You don't have to do this alone, and you can get through this.
absolutely. So let's talk about like this work, like we have like your book. Can we just talk a little bit more about like the book and what people could really like expect from it, like while when they're in this like this space?
Yeah. So the great thing about the book is that it's small. It's a quick read. It's a couple of hours on Audible. I'm intimidated by big books, and so when I set
Mm,
out to do this, I wanted it to be something that was easily digestible. I wanted it to be like oatmeal. It's quick. It's dirty. It gets the job done, but it sits with you. And the great thing is, it's broken into 3 sections. It sort of tells my story, but you could literally pick up any chapter in the book and start from there and just kind of navigate it based on what you need. It's not a how to. It's not going to, here's 5 steps to live a happier life, because that's a BuzzFeed article and that's fluff. And I'm not here to give you fluff. I'm here to give you what you need, not what you want. It's very matter of fact, and it's very raw and it's very real, because I want people to know that you have to be vulnerable. And this is the most vulnerable expression of myself I've ever experienced and ever endured or put into the universe, because I want to reach others and let them know that vulnerability is a strength, not a deficit. The great thing about it is, as you start to do the work and you start to make the progress, different things are going to come up. The biggest thing I learned as I was doing all of this is it's kind of like a bottle of soda. You've got those little bubbles that are sitting at the bottom, and eventually they start to rise and they pop. Well, every time one of them popped, something new was coming up that I hadn't addressed before, because I had it so tamped down. But as I started to unearth these layers of trauma, these little things that I had never addressed that were a root cause of other issues would make their way to the surface. And so as I was doing my glow up, we'll call it that, that's kind of fun, a glow up, uh, you know, new things would come, and even I would go back into my own book and go, "Oh my gosh, this is where this actually came from." So it's not a one and done. It's not a you're going to be healed by the end of it. This is just a tool in your tool bag that you can come back to, and it's still going to feed you every time you go for that meal.
I love that. I love that. It's so much that's packed in, just like what you said, about allowing it to be, it's a tool that can add to it. And I also love the fact that you're like, look, by the end of it, you're not going to be healed. Like, I'm not going to give you 3 steps and then you're going to be magically, like, because it's BS. Can we give you 3 steps? Absolutely. But that's not the magic. That's not it. Because honestly, those 3 steps might not work for you in the space that you're in right now. You might need to have a different step before you can even get those 3 steps to live a happy life, or 3 steps to, blase, to feed your soul. Like, I've even done topics and stuff like that, which is going to resonate with some people, but some people need the basics where I talked about before. Like, what is your soul? What is your ego? What's the difference between, you might need that step before you can listen to that podcast or read that book that says, this is this is that. And that's okay. You have to, sometimes you get that tool a little early, like Spirit will put it in, in your path a little early. And it's kind of like that book, right? You get those books and you're like, oh my God, I want this book. And you see it and then you haven't even opened and you're like, oh, I'm so terrible at that. No, you're not terrible at it. Spirit, God, whatever you connect to, just wanted you to have this now for when you're ready. And you're going to know when you're ready, when you get up and you walk over there and you pick up that book. Now is the time. But instead of you having to get back out and try to, them giving you signs to get this other tool, nah, it's already here. Right. Or I've had people reach out to me about hypnosis, and we've hopped on a call and had a conversation about it. And that was just it, answering the questions and debunking any myths and stuff. And then I don't hear from them, it's like a month or 2 months later, and I don't even actually hear. I just get a notification that they booked hypnosis. And then before we talk, they tell me some things that happen. And I'm like, They're like, sorry, it took me so long to book. And I'm like, never apologize. It's always in divine timing. You weren't ready for it, but I needed to give you the information on there so you can have that and go through the other different things. Right. So even just with you saying that about like your book, like I can already feel like the energy that you put behind writing that book is like, look, I'm letting you know healing is not linear. Like it's not. So this is like what this is. And you're going to be able to add this tool to like your toolbox. And I just love that. And easy to digest. Like, let's go. Like, let's get to the nitty gritty. And, let me pull this out.
There's only so many hours in the day. If I were to put a stack of 600 pages in front of you and go, here you go, this is what you need, it's going to take you a while. And, a mom, a business owner, life is busy. The last thing I want to do is make my help a chore. I want it to be something you look forward to. It's, this chapter is only 3 pages. I'm going to knock out this chapter and I'm going to feel good. And then in a couple days, when I've got another 10 or 15 minutes in the carpool line, I'm gonna bust it out and read another chapter. I want people to be excited about getting to it because there's gonna be something for everybody, regardless of where you're at in your journey. And I don't want it to be something that you're gun shy from. When it's right for you, it will come to you and it will be there for you.
Absolutely. It's really just building that bag up or that box or that book bag, whatever you want to store your tools in. It's there. My sister-in-law, she's the older sister of my best friend that died. And one day she called me for something and she was like, so I don't remember exactly how it went, but she was like, girl, I was over at with such and such and they told me that I need to go see this person. And they gave the image. She was like, girl, he's like a hypnotist. And I was like, oh my God, I love hypnosis. This was before I was like certified. She's like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm like, it is amazing. And she was like, are you for real? Because I just was like, whatever. I rolled my eyes at this. And I was like, no, girl, you should go. I said, it'll help. You should go. And then I kind of told her my story about it and all. So she did book the session. And to this day, she tells people now, she says, hypnosis saved my life. She's like, she said, try all different things because it was the death of her sister, which was like her daughter. And hypnosis but it was something that she was overlooking and was just like rolled her eyes and was like, I don't know why they gave me this, like whatever. But for whatever reason, she was led to call me, not about that, but just to talk about something. And that came up. And then I was like, oh my God, it's amazing. You should do it. And then boom, she's like, that saved, I'm like, and that's how the universe will put certain things and people and books and podcasts and conversations in our path so we can have another tool.
Yeah, when you're willing to remove the blinders and open yourself to possibility, the universe will provide.
100%. It just might look different. It might not look like what you're expecting. I was talking with a client yesterday in the Philippines, and she told me like during her break from work, she's like, she started laughing and she said, I started watching, she's like, I know it's old, but I started watching Grey's Anatomy and I'm so hooked. And I was like, oh my God, I love that show. She was like, you know what? I got so much inspiration from them. She was like, it was so bizarre. She just kept saying it was so bizarre. And I said, inspiration can come from anywhere. Like your team, whether, like I said, your spirit guides, angels, ancestors, God, whatever you're relating to, will know how to clearly and effectively get messages to you if you, like you said, take those blinders and keep yourself like open to receive. It may come from a show such as Grey's Anatomy, but it'll come through. So like you have the support from your spiritual realm. You have the support from people, such as yourself, who's sharing your story. And like you said, you listen to that voice that said, okay, but now what you gonna do with it? Like, that's cool. Like you went through that. That's great. And okay, but now what? How can you help, shift the level of consciousness for humanity and be able to help people in a different, like in a massive space, like, okay, so what you gonna do? So they called you out.
Yeah, it does at times feel like serving a penance, but it's one that I feel is due. I really hurt a lot of people before I got to this spot in my life. And I have apologized and I have made amends and I have taken steps to do better, but it didn't feel like it was enough. And so, being completely honest about things and helping others, it's like it's a positive penance. I don't want penance to sound like a negative thing because I don't think it has to be. But it's serving the purpose of making amends for the harm that I did to others.
Yeah. No, I get it. That's beautiful too, though. Especially when you have that feeling, you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't feel like it's not enough. And it's not that it's not enough, like, oh, I have to go out of my way even more to apologize to people or even to yourself. It was saying, wait a minute, I'm meant to do more.
Yeah, it's me making peace with myself for the scorched earth that I created.
I tell people all the time, I believe that experience is the greatest teacher, right? So you've learned a lot. And now that you've experienced that and went through it. Now you're able to teach other people through your experience. And that's just what I love about people sharing their story. It's different. It's not like you said, it's not getting up there saying, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3. Like, no, that's not the case. Like, this is a story. I was, this business that I put this money into, then looking at the divorce, and it was just too much. I'm hurting all types of people, hurting myself. Like, it was just too much, and I was ready to be done. And then you locked in on a part like with like your son. I think that's what it is too. Like, I know for me personally, that was the thing. If it wasn't for me having children, I'm like, yeah, I would have been like checked out of this place, because I'm like, this game is stupid. Like,
where's the reset button?
Yeah, exactly. I'm always like, nah, this is stupid. Like, why am I on the same level? Like, this is dumb, but then when I think about me not physically being here, how that would affect my kids, I'm like, nah, that's not even an option right there. Like, I wouldn't even like intentionally go and like put them through that pain. And some people might not even have children. However, I think that if you can lock into something, if you can lock into something, that helps. And that something for me was my children. I was like, man, they would be devastated. I said this to one of my close friends the other day. I said, oh yeah, I said, if I knew that my kids would be like okay and like good and be like, okay, well, mommy's my spirit guide now, we're cool and stuff, I was like, yo, I would have been check out. And she was like, I get what you're saying about your kids. She was like, but I would be to pieces if something happened to you. So I need you to include me in that. And I was like,
you never know
whatever.
who's watching you and who's
For
looking
sure.
to you for guidance. And,
For sure.
we put that on kids, well, your big brother's that's your compass point, you have to be a good example. And we don't think about that as adults, but you really are an example to someone. Someone is watching you and learning from you, and how you interact in the world around you is teaching other people what's okay and what's not okay. And it's hard to remind yourself of that from the get-go of, someone's
Yeah.
watching me. Well, why are they watching me? Because people look up to you. Someone somewhere is looking up to you going, I want to be that.
Yeah.
Then you need to be the best of that, even on your worst days, because someone is looking to you for guidance.
Yeah, absolutely. And that worst day could be you expressing that it's your worst day, you feeling like being honest with it. And that's where that is. Doesn't mean you have to put on a smile for a person. It's like you show up and you let them know, like, today has been a shit show. And that's okay, because then people can see that you're relatable, that you're
That you're real.
relatable, you're real, in that happens. Like, I'll tell people that all the time. I'm like, I don't have all of the answers. I don't have all of the answers. I still have my own like moments, that I go through. I mean, I tell people all the time that when I'm working with my client, I said the difference between me and you is I practice building up my intuition more than you. That's it. It's just that I practice it more. That's where there. So it's not that it's magic when I'm talking to you and tuning into like your energy and telling you these things. First of all, I called in your spirit guides to help me. They're your spirit guides. But I've practiced in it. So I make it my business to let people know that you have that ability too. You have that ability too.
Yeah, I love that you focus in on practice. That it's because you've practiced. Consumerism and self-help have this ugly double-sided sword where it's like, you can be better, and if you just buy this, you'll be better. And that's not true, because buying stuff isn't going to fill your soul and give you your inner peace. It's just like going to the gym. Every single day you have to work at this. Every single day I have to work at this. Because if I don't, I lose all the work that I've done. Yesterday was a terrible day for me in regards to my business. And I had all of those negative thoughts flood into my head. And I had to stop and go, you know what? This is just a reaction to a situation. And if I practice my control over the situation, I can recover from this and move forward and recover the rest of the day and make the best of an interaction. But you have to practice it, even when you don't think that you need it, because the day that you do need it is the day that you're going to have to pull that muscle back out and say, all right, this is what we've been working for. We're going to use it today. This is why it's here. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't come easy. It's an every single day. It's 2 minutes in the morning. It's 5 minutes of gratitude before bed. It's writing it down, because sometimes I write it down first so that I don't rip someone's head off, because I can gather my thoughts and then go, okay, now I know what I need to talk about now that I've removed the emotion.
Absolutely. It's really coming from like that space of every day is research. Every day is a day for me to learn more about myself, to learn more about my fears, my traumas, my wounds, my triggers, the things that make me extremely happy, the things, when I feel like my best. So it's that level of awareness of every single day, just becoming more and more aware of like who you are, because especially depending on how, like your age, you're like starting to wake up and understand that I got to unlearn all these things. I got to shed all of this. I'm in a rebirth. I'm in a transformation. It's a lot. It's a lot when your whole life you've thought like this, and then all of a sudden you're starting to like this change and stuff. It's a weird space to be in. But yeah, the more you practice it, every single day, like the better. So I can call myself out. So if I'm having a conversation with someone and I'll say to them, I'm like, yo, I'm about to straight speak from my ego, yo, and I'm 100% cool with it. Like, look, this is what this is. And I don't have no problem. Or like, I'll go through something and I'll be like this is around like a guy, like opening yourself to like love. And I know that I struggle with that area. And this guy has been like communicating with me. And I was on the phone with my friend and I was like reading the message that he was sending to me. Right. And I was laughing the whole time. And I was like, girl, I'm on my bullshit right now. I'm all skeptic. And I'm like, he's shady. And I was like, but there was really no truth to it at all. It was just me coming from a place of fear and hurt, but I'm very much aware of it. And I'm cool with that. I'm cool because when I'm ready to really pull the trigger and make that shift, I know that I can do that. Like, I know that I can do that. So yeah, it is coming from that place of practicing and being aware. So like, because I didn't even realize like we just been flowing and chatting. This is great. So I appreciate the time you've been giving me. But before we wrap it up, like how can we support you while you're supporting other people?
So Comfortably Uncomfortable, The Road to Happiness Isn't Always Paved is available on Amazon in print. You can download it to your e-reader or your Kindle. If you like conversation format, I'll read it to you on Audible. There's grownupgrowingpains.com, which is a companion website for the book. I actually list the providers that I still use and resource. I have different worksheets and meditation guides and all the little tools that I access when I'm having a tough time. I make them available. There's also my Instagram where I post everything from how to identify breast cancer to me being 100% and telling you I'm having a bad day and why I'm having a bad day and what I'm going to do to fix that bad day, because we learn from examples and I want to be a positive example.
I love it. And I will make sure that I get that information in the show notes as well for everyone. So, but thank you. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to really just share a part of your story and how you can help listeners and everyone else. And just again, kudos to you for using your voice and expressing yourself to the world the best way that you feel like you can serve. So for that, I'm truly grateful.
Tisha, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you to your listeners for the opportunity to be a tool in a toolbox.
Absolutely.
Thanks for tuning in to Seeing with Your Soul. If something you heard resonated with you, feel free to rate, review, and share with others. If you are looking to go deeper, you can connect with Tisha Michelle on Instagram at Mindset Slayer or visit www.healingalignglow.com.